So how's it going, my comic chat? I'm here today with Greg Moquin. Nope, right? I said it right?
Moquin.
Moquin.
Yeah, you said it fine before you start recording, so it's
I know, right? It's like the pressure of seeing the time going. How you doing, Greg?
good. Yeah.
Doing pretty good. So you made several different books.
Yeah. Yeah, don't stop.
So tell us about the books you made.
There's superhero, sci-fi, and horror anthologies right now. I would like to do like horror comics just in general at some point, but we'll get there. We have a flagship title that's superhero. That's the Seer Chronicles. We have 2 issues of that. It's mostly 2 issues of everything. Inc., which is actually coming out with a 3rd issue on Kickstarter sometime in June. It was supposed to be in May. That is a tattoo artist turned like superhero, and not his choice at all. Like it was like he wins this like tattoo convention, goes home, has a nightmare of this like branding tattoo thing on his arm. He shows up to his shop like later the next day. A guy walks in with this key tattoo on his forearm. He touches his forearm, and then like there's a purple glow. The guy with the key tattoo says, "You have 3 days to go to this place, or you basically die." He's like, "What?" And then that guy just disappears. So, like he just evaporates or disintegrates, and so he is kind of like forced into this whole superhero thing. And then issue 2 is it's 3 years after the events of 1. We did 3 years because it took 3 years to put the book out. And that's him coming back home after training and getting these tattoos that give him special powers. Then he fights this like cult that is messed up. It's like got a supernatural element to it and a little horror. So that's like the closest to the horror that we have for like superheroes. And then issue 3 is finishing that plot arc, and it's called Harvest. Our cover for that is him like on a scarecrow like post, and it's like my favorite cover that we have right now. And Adam Fields did that. We have Scales, which we just did a Kickstarter for in March, but we had that created like in 2020. That is a superhero comic, but it has no superheroes in it because it's like an origin story that's like a really weird origin story. That is it's like our Daredevil meets Iron Fist character. Issue 2 of that comes out next year, which is awesome. But the first issue is basically a kid goes on a failed vacation and bad stuff happens to him, and then he has to do this training to become like a superhero. Then we have the horror anthologies. That's Chronicles of Horror 1 and 2. The first one, I didn't have anything to do with it. We just published it by my friend Matthew Myers. He came up with the idea, and then he kind of like just gave me the series like after, because he just didn't want to focus on it as much. So we're doing a 3rd one of that, and we're wrapping that whole anthology up next year. It's like Creepshow, basically.
Okay.
What else do we have? Yeah, Seer Chronicles is the main one. Seer Chronicles is a bunch of stories meshed in together, and that's where like everything started. I wrote like a over 1,200 page story in 2014, and then that's how I got all my other comics made, is because I wrote all that and I just edited it down and stuff.
What is Mittens about? Mittens Space Pilot.
And then Mittens is the fan favorite. It's a sci-fi space cat. So it's a cat that's a space pilot and a master thief. The 3rd issue is coming out on Kickstarter in July. the last 2 years since July. So he lives on planet Yarn.
Yes.
He lives on planet Yarn. Then he's like a hired, thief. So he's hired by this mob boss named Oscar Pawton, and it's another cat. And then he goes on this mission to go to Planet Boneyard, which is run by like this dictator dog. He has to get this special item, which is a squeaky toy, but it actually is more, powerful than he actually thinks. He thinks it's just a toy. So the Oscar wants that, but Mittens doesn't really care why. It's just a job. And then he finds out later, like, oh, there's actually something more to this. So issue 1 is basically that. Issue 2 it takes place right after issue 1, after he crash lands on this planet called Essos. He meets a couple new people, new characters that actually join him. There's a human character, which they kind of, him and like this other new character, Slugger, cyborg pug. They have to break out this human character from the prison on Essos, and then he has to get his ship fixed because he crash landed on that planet. While all that's going on, there's a bounty hunter that's a panda bear. His name is Griff. He's going after him because he was actually hired by somebody that we don't really mention until issue 3. And then there's also Commissioner Quackers, which is like the police of the space universe thing. And he's also after Mittens. So it's like just a chase all around the galaxy.
So is the whole book in like white and blue tones, or is that just the cover?
Nope, the entire book is monochromatic, and that's like one of the most favorite things that everybody mentions, because we've only done like 3 conventions so far, and it's the easiest comic to sell. Because I just tell people, they're walking by, I was like, "Do you like cats?" And they're like, "Yeah," and then that gets them to like come over to the table, and then like Dylan, my business partner, like he learned some marketing trick. If you like put something in their hand, they think they're like it's theirs. So we put the comic in their hand and like we open it, and then they're like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" And I was like, "Yeah."
So that really works.
Yeah, that worked for us at the last convention.
That's cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until he told me that. And then issue 2, the cover is like it's the movie poster of The Fifth Element. So somebody was dressed up like wow, I'm gonna butcher her name, even though I've watched this a couple times. Is it Lilu? Is it Lilu?
Is that the redhead girl?
Yeah. The Chicken Good. Yeah, her. Someone was dressed up like her, and I was like, "Oh my god, do you like The Fifth Element?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Do you like cats?" And she's like, "How do you know all this?" And I was like, "Just look at this comic."
Right. Yeah. When I first seen it, do you remember that game for I think it was Nintendo 64, Star Fox?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah. Played the shit out of that on the 64.
Yeah, I actually just beat it for like the millionth time the other day, because I have a Switch and I have like a 64 like controller for that.
Oh
yeah. And yeah, so I was like, "Oh, I want to play this," and my cat was actually watching me play it, which is hilarious. And I took a picture of that and I sent it to the artist J.R. Harris of Mittens, and I was like, "Look," and then he's like, "Oh my god, that's the best thing ever."
Yeah.
Josh was actually listening to like Star Fox like soundtrack while drawing that. So
That's cool. That's cool. I got a Switch Lite over there. I'm gonna have to try to find Star Fox now that you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Are you in comic shops? Like, do y'all distribute through Diamond?
Not Diamond. We're trying to we've been emailing. Well, right now we're focusing on like getting our website rebuilt, but we've been emailing like every shop that we have in this like giant list of shops. We have a app called Notion, and it's like just organizational and stuff. And Dylan put so many different names of shops, like from every state. Like there's 3 or 4 from each state, if there are 3 or 4, in this database, and then he just is going through and emailing them. And I think 1 maybe answered. But the only way we've gotten into comic shops is from Kickstarter so far. So we got one that is in Florida, The Collective.
Yeah.
And one of the people that worked there, I don't know if she still works there, but she said that's her favorite comic was Mittens. And that was the first comic we ever put into a shop, was the first Mittens. And I was like, that's cool. Just like when I heard that from Danny, who used to work there and now he doesn't work there. And then we got Ink, I think it was Ink. Yeah, because Mittens one was the first Kickstarter that I actually got retailed here. And then after that, I was like, I don't know why I never did this. So every Kickstarter from then, I did that. So it was like 3 other comics. So I think it was like Ink and maybe Scales got into like a shop somewhere in like California and somewhere else, but I don't remember the other one.
What state are you in? What state are you in again?
New York.
Sweet. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good indie comic creators in New York.
Yeah.
And the Collective, I hear that they're just awesome for indie comics. I haven't made it up there yet.
Yeah, I told Dylan, like, there's a lot of like conventions that happen in Florida. We have to go to Florida at some point, just because it's like most of my friends that make comics are there. So, yeah.
Somebody that the other day, I was like, you could throw a rock and hit about 3 indie comic creators.
Yeah. There's one guy that I know that he just left Florida. He was living, I don't know how long he lived there. I started getting to know him through like just podcasts we just happened to be on. Jonathan Hedrick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he now lives in like Italy. And I was like, what? So I was like, that's insane. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I think I backed his campaign, Spilled Blood. I think that was last year.
Is that good?
I did not read it yet. I feel bad that I haven't read like a bunch of the things that I get off Kickstarter. I like get them because 1, I'm usually a fan of the person, and then 2, like, I'm your friend, and I have read them. So like there are people that are like, oh, the other creators buy them and they just like they sit there. Right now, like my upstairs, my house is getting like redone, so I don't have like an actual room to do anything in right now. I could just sit in my living room and do it, but they're like stored away. So, but yeah.
Jonathan Hedrick puts out some pretty good stuff. He's got pretty good range.
Yeah.
But yeah, the few times that I've met him and interviewed him, he's a pretty chill guy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. It's dope though that he went to
Italy.
Yeah, Italy. Thank you. That's cool shit though. Yeah. So, what websites do you got? I know you said he was working on yours. Are y'all changing the domain, or y'all just?
So it's through WordPress still, but so we had our website that was like for 7 years, because we've been a company since 2017 in August. Okay, maybe like 6 years the website was a thing. And it first was just going to be a website for us, and then we found out like, oh wow, it's really hard for like indie creators to like kind of get their foot in the door and stuff. So we were trying to help other people and like host their comics on our website. The problem with that is like we needed like a special server because of like just the amount of data, and it just kept crashing and stuff all the time. So after a while, like I was getting annoyed by it, even though I couldn't do anything about it because I wasn't like the webmaster. It's Dylan that's the webmaster. He does all website design and all that stuff. And I was like, we need to like revamp like what we're doing. Okay, so he finally agreed to my essay that I typed to him, And so we're rebuilding our website, and it's just our stuff. It's just going to be our stuff only. And what some of the things that are cool about that is when we had the website with everybody else on there, I think it confused other people because they thought those people were connected to us. They're not, because it was still called the SeerNova Comics platform, but it had like other people's comics on there, and some people wanted to get off of there because they didn't want to like be like, well, my comics are in the same universe. It's like that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have our own universe. Like I'm not trying to take anybody's stuff. So unless if you like people want to join, then that's cool. But besides that, so now we're gonna have our own like dedicated website, and then we're gonna make a subdomain or something. We still are figuring that part out, but we're trying to make that platform again, but make it smaller so it's either people just download the PDF or something and they pay for it. So yeah, we're still figuring that part out, but I think our website is like almost done because we were like building it yesterday for a while.
Y'all use like a print on demand, or you just have physical, just mail out?
Yeah, so nobody ordered the comics through our web store yet because they were probably all confused about everything. And everything wasn't really completely set up on the old website. There were certain things that he couldn't get to it because the website was like massive with all the people that were on there. Because it was like a global comics thing,
Right.
a little different. And now it's just going to be our comics, so it's smaller. And now the store is set up the correct way. We go through Printify for like shirts and stuff. That's how I do it for like Kickstarter too. But if I have the comics here, then I can just mail them. Like someone buys it off the website, and I can like just send it to them and just print the shipping label because we have that set up now. We didn't have that set up on the old website, so yeah.
Dead or alive, who is your dream team you would like to make a comic book with?
Stanley, yes, Jack Kirby, Todd McFarlane, but like,
I agree.
Minus the AI stuff that's been going on, but besides that, yeah, besides that, yeah, I like all the teams that we have like currently, but yeah, like bigger people would be cool. Frank Miller, like not now.
I got you. What comic books can we expect out of you this year or later this year? What's coming?
Ink 3, Mittens 3, Seer Chronicles 3, a lot of threes. Scales is getting fulfilled. Like that was supposed to be like May or June. It's supposed to be in June. But I'm just waiting on the printer, and the printer is going really slow. So I put a rush on that. So I don't know when we're actually supposed to be getting like a bunch of comics because we sold a bunch at the last convention. We actually sold out of like Mittens too. And I was like, I've never done that before. So I was like, now I like have to get all these comics, and it was a lot of money. So yeah, we have those, and then next year it's basically like all trades for the most part, which is insane. Like I didn't think I was gonna ever get to that.
Like 3 issues, all in trades?
Yeah. So there's gonna be so we're coming out with the third issue of Ink this month, but or June. I don't know when it's actually gonna go out. But then there's gonna be a trade, and issue 1 is getting remastered because that was one of the first comics that Adam Fields did, and the art, it was good, but like his art has improved since 2019, 18. And I was like, oh, I want to remaster this, not really just because of the art, but it will be updated. But the story was like super short. Like it was like 11 pages, something like that. Yeah. So I added a couple more pages, and it still has to go through like editing, but we might have to add a little more because it was like really short for like what it should have been. And then there's Chronicles of Horror anthology. I was going to do just the third issue of that, and then me and J.R. Harris, the artist for Mittens, he also does stuff for me on that. We were both talking like a year ago, and we're like, oh, we could just do the trade and be done with this.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of exhausting after a while. Because I'm focusing on so many things, and like I've said to Dylan like over multiple times, like if I just focus on like one series, like most people do, I think we would be in like a better spot. But yeah.
All right. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
Check out SeerNova Comics.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come talk with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What? You mean you haven't subscribed to Comicchatauthority? Oh, come on. Subscribe already. What are you waiting for? It's no big deal. Like, man, don't forget to tell him to hit that like button. Yeah, that too. Just subscribe.